Hey, what's good? I'm professional shooting coach Colin Castello, and welcome to another episode of Decoded, where today we're jumping into LaMelo Ball's shooting form. So LaMelo Ball is having a ton of buzz coming out of Australia, and there's a lot of rumors coming out that he might be one of the top draft picks in this next NBA draft. So today what I want to do is break down his shooting mechanics, because a lot of them are a little bit unconventional, but still something that a lot of players can use. Now, we did a breakdown of LaMelo Ball's jumper before, right? But his mechanics have changed a lot in the last couple of years as he's gotten bigger, as he's gotten taller, gotten stronger. So I wanted to update and take another deep dive into it to help you out, because you might be able to add some of these to your game as well. But before we jump into it, click the top link in the description down below or the top link in the pinned comment. Get free instant access to my quick draw shooting workout. Now, we can talk about mechanics in here, but we want to get you the right reps to make sure that your in-game shooting is as good as it can possibly be. So go ahead and get my quick draw shooting workout. It helps you get a faster jump shot and a more consistent jump shot, 100% free. Now, the very first thing when it comes to LaMelo Ball shooting is his feet, right? Now, the feet are kind of the most important part of a jump shot, because it's really where you start. And if you look at LaMelo when he's getting ready to shoot, most of the time his feet are going to tilt off to the left, right? We call this kind of a tilt or a stagger right here. Now, the reason why this is important is because it unlocks a lot of shoulder tension and allows kind of that fluidity of a jump shot through the body. And fluidity is something that LaMelo has really, really well inside of his jump shot. Now, the thing about a tilt here is, for every player, it's going to be a little bit different, right? For LaMelo, sometimes he tilts really big if he's coming off of a screen or off of kind of like a dribble left scenario. Sometimes it's a little bit smaller. You want to try to keep your tilt as consistent as possible, because most of the time, the more consistent you are with your tilt, the more accurate you're going to be, because you can really kind of shoot that same shot every single time. But this kind of breaks the old adage of you have to square to the basket to be able to shoot, right? Because if we can get that tilt, we release that upper body tension, get that nice smooth release, and it's gonna help you out a lot. That's one of the main reasons why LaMelo can shoot from so far back and everybody's wowed by his range, is because he tilts those feet so he doesn't have any of that upper body shoulder tension. So try tilting your feet and see if that works for you. All right, so the next key that helps LaMelo knock down shots, especially out of the move situations, is what we call hip alignment. Basically meaning that no matter what he's doing, if it's a pull back or a step back or a lateral dribble into a pull, he gets his right hip aligned on the rim every single time. Now, alignment's super important because it keeps your shot straight, right? So as you come up into a jump shot, if you can keep your right hip, if we pretend like we draw a line straight from our right hip to the rim, if we can do that, that means that our shooting elbow can fall in line, our shooting wrist can fall in line, and as soon as we get everything in this straight line, the ball flies straight, and a straight shooter is a great shooter. Now, you'll notice with LaMelo, sometimes he gets a little bit erratic on his jump shot, and he gets a little, going too fast or off balance, going side to side, and most of the time, you'll notice that his hip alignment is a little bit off, right? So think about anytime you're getting ready to shoot, you want to snap a line from your dominant hip. So if I'm a right-handed shooter, it's my right hip directly to the rim, and then I want to finish all down that straight line. Again, LaMelo does a great job of this most of the time, and it's one of the reasons why he's able to knock down so many difficult shots, because he gets that hip aligned. All right, so the next key that helps LaMelo knock down shots is what we call a downhill drift, meaning his feet sweep forward towards the basket downhill, right? Now, a lot of players, they make the mistake of they have a sweep where their feet come forward on the landing, but instead of going straight towards the basket, they go out to the side, right? And so when LaMelo's getting hot and he's knocking down a ton of shots, you'll notice that every single time his feet are almost going in a straight line towards the basket, landing closer from where he started from. Now, this kind of busts one of the myths that a lot of shooting coaches have out there of you got to jump straight up and straight down on every single jump shot, right? But if you watch LaMelo, he's got this great downhill sweep of his legs, and actually improves his momentum and improves his fluidity. Now, here's where the part, somebody's in the comments right now all mad, like, "Bah, you're shooting a fadeaway, that's like terrible, blah, blah, blah." It's not, right? If we pause the footage, cameraman Jake, pause the footage right now, right? You'll see that as LaMelo's getting ready to shoot, he's nice and straight up and down when the ball is actually released. It's not until the ball's out of his hands that his shoulders relax back and his feet sweep forward. Basically, he's just pendulum or doing a pendulum of his momentum, right? And so if he's actually straight up and down on the release, and it doesn't matter, right? You want to make sure if you're going to sweep your feet forward that you're not actually falling backwards when you're shooting, right? But this is a common misconception that a lot of coaches make, saying that you're shooting a fadeaway if you do this when you're actually not, right? And LaMelo's no different. And you'll notice he gets great rhythm and flow on his jump shot when he's getting those feet sweeping forward towards the hoop, letting his shoulders relax back. backwards. All right, so the next key that I want to highlight with LaMelo's jumper is his low set point. Now, a low set point is something a few years ago people would have been outraged over, and there was coaches all over the world that were like, you'll never be able to get your shot off with a low set point, and that's the #1 thing you got to change. I even see it now where coaches will be working with like 3rd or 4th graders, and they'll like force them to raise their set point over their forehead, and it just doesn't work, right? We're starting to notice that range and fluidity are the most important things when it comes to shooting, because if you've got shooting range and you've got shooting fluidity, it forces the defense to stretch further out. So take a look at a guy like Trae Young, right? He's got an incredibly low set point in comparison to where most players shoot. You know, Trae Young's somewhere around here. Kobe Bryant was somewhere up here, right? So LaMelo does have a lower set point, and it's kind of in front of his face, but he's still gonna be able to get off his jump shot because his shot prep's so good, his handle's so good, and his pop off of the ground is so good. So a lot of times people see this and they think it's a massive negative, but it's really not, right? I guarantee that LaMelo's gonna be able to get his shot off just like Trae Young, because not only does he have the same footwork and preparation as Trae Young, but he's also taller than Trae Young as well, right? And we just saw the whole last season, it didn't matter. People knew Trae was shooting, they knew how great he was, and he was still able to get off shots. And LaMelo's gonna be the exact same way. So a lot of people will say, hey, you've got to raise your set point. I want you to double think that, right? You can still be an elite level shooter and an elite level player with a lower set point if you've got that range to match off of it. So check out LaMelo's set point. It's not as high as a traditional one. It's a little bit lower, but that allows him to shoot quick and it allows him to shoot with range. So the next piece I want to highlight is LaMelo's hand position on the basketball, specifically his shooting hand, right? So a lot of times coaches tell you that you got to shove your hand behind the basketball like this, and you got to get your wrist cocked early and all that sort of stuff. Now, with that being said, I think it's better if you can get your wrist locked early, but it's not necessarily an end-all be-all, right? So if you look at LaMelo, he's kind of got a funky hand position in comparison to traditional style, where his hand's kind of on top of the ball and kind of around the front right here, right? So as he brings it up, he keeps his wrist flat till he gets to a set point, he locks it, and then he snaps it off coming forward. Now, a lot of the times coaches are gonna say, hey, this is the first thing you've gotta change, right? And for LaMelo, I probably would change his hand position a little bit. Instead of having it so high on the front, I'd probably roll it back just a little bit. That way he gets his wrist locked a little bit early, but it's still not the end of the world, and you can still be an elite level shooter with this kind of hand position as LaMelo's showing us, right? So the whole key here is finding out the hand position that works best for you. It might be kind of on the front like LaMelo, it might be more on the top like Trae Young, or it might be more on the side like Steph Curry, right? So basically what you want to do as a player is experiment with different hand positions and see what works best for you, because what you're going to end up finding is a jump shot is like a living, breathing organism. Everything's interconnected and everything changes. If you change your hand position, it's gonna change how your feet are gonna need to go. If you change your foot position, it's probably gonna change how your hand needs to go. So it's one of those things you gotta play around with a little bit to see what works for you. For LaMelo on the front, it seems to be working just fine. So the next thing is probably the main reason why LaMelo is an elite level shooter, and that's his release angle, right? A lot of the times your release angle is one of the most important things on your jump shot, because it's mathematically, if you get a proper release, the ball sees a bigger target, and so you're gonna make more shots, right? So what a lot of players do is they try to get a really high set point like we talked about earlier, and they end up throwing it towards the basket. So the ball has a very sharp trajectory going down towards the hoop, so it sees a very small target as it's coming down, right? But what LaMelo does is he has a great high release where his shooting elbow is above his eye, the ball has a nice rainbow arc, and because of that, it can see a bigger target as it's coming down towards the hoop. So even if he's, off a little bit, he's got more margin for error. And this is one of the reasons why he can knock down so many tough shots, is because he's optimized that arc and optimized that trajectory, right? So for you, you want to make sure that on your release, you're always getting your elbow above your eye line. So if I was to draw a straight line out from my eye, I want to try to get my elbow to at least break that plane. If I can do that, I'm probably going to get an optimized arc. I'm going to get more touch, I'm going to get more bounce, and I'm going to make more shots instantly just from raising the release point. So, a lot of shooting coaches will be out here, they'll get all high and mighty and say, bah, LaMelo's got this wrong with his jump shot, or he's got this wrong with his jump shot. At the end of the day, he's got a lot of things right that end up resulting in made baskets, and a high release point is one of the main ones. So what's scary is LaMelo's already an elite level prospect, and he could still kind of make a few tweaks to his jump shot that I personally think would help make him even more devastating. So really quick, I'm going to run through those just in case you have some of these issues as well. Now, the first thing on LaMelo's jump shot that he can improve just a little bit is having his shot line tweaked just a tad. You'll notice that as LaMelo picks the ball up, most of the time, he picks it up kind of right here off of his left thigh and kind of in front of his waist, right? Now, the problem is, as he brings it up, that kind of promotes this left shot line. So already his elbow's starting to chicken wing a little bit, and the ball can kind of have some left to right deviation because of it. It's a lot like the same issue that his brother Lonzo had coming out of high school and college as well. So if I was LaMelo, what I would probably do is I would try to rotate my hand back on the hand position just slightly and move the ball over to the right just a little bit. That would allow him to keep his elbow underneath the ball, and he can keep all the exact same mechanics after that, but by pulling it over, it's gonna be just a little bit more straighter and a little bit more consistent. And so that's probably the very first one that would help. The second thing that would help is being on balance. You notice that a lot of times when he's getting ready to shoot, especially off of like separation scenarios, he ends up getting his feet really, really close together, right? I'm all for kind of a narrowish stance, like, you know, kind of just barely inside your shoulder width. But with LaMelo, he ends up getting really, really tight too often. And because of this balance issue, his shoulders start to sway a little bit, and he shoots maybe a few too many fadeaways, or, you know, slides right or slides left. If he can get his balance just a little bit better, he's gonna knock down even more shots, and he's gonna be even more dangerous out of a pull-up or a dribble scenario, because being on balance is one of the biggest keys when it comes to knocking down shots. So we've got his balance is a big issue, the shot line is an issue that can help, and the next one is his guide hand flex. So you might have noticed that he pushes the ball a little bit with his offhand thumb. Now, this isn't the end of the world, right? A lot of the elite level shooters in the world have a little bit of a thumb push. I myself have a bit of a thumb push, right? But one thing that you can do is we can kind of get more consistency if we can get rid of that. So what you'll notice is right now he flexes his thumb and his palm towards the hoop. If he can get this guide hand to flex with his thumb towards the ceiling, he's gonna be able to guide the ball longer and keep it straight. What I'm guessing is somebody at some point probably tried to get him to have like the perfect book in hand, right, with his fingers to the ceiling, and that just didn't feel comfortable for him, and he was still trying to get power, so he went with this thumb flick, right? Still trying to keep his fingers to the ceiling. But if he can flex that wrist forward, so he's snapping both wrists at the same time and finishing with his thumb to the ceiling, he can still get that guide on the ball, he can still get it going straight towards the basket, but he doesn't need to have his fingers straight up and down. So those are the three tweaks that if I was LaMelo, I would probably try to implement, and I think he could even become a better shooter pretty quickly. All right, don't forget, if you want to dial in your stroke just like LaMelo, you can go ahead and click the top link in the description down below and get a free copy of my quick draw shooting workout to not only get your jumper faster, but also more consistent in real game scenarios. And if this video helped you out, go ahead and hit that like button, and then hit the comment section down below and let me know what sort of video you want to see next, because we run pretty much everything off a request. And if you leave it down below, hopefully we'll be able to get to it. And if you're new to Shot Mechanics, welcome to the Splash Army. Click that subscribe button, ding the bell notification, and come back, because every week we put out videos that are gonna get you better, I guarantee it. Again, I'm Coach Colin Castell with Shot Mechanics Basketball. Thanks for watching, and until next time, splash on.